Good evening. Welcome back to Summer Camp 2026. We are starting session 6 today. This is the final session in week 3. We only have 2 sessions left to go. So we are almost through. Welcome back. I'm so excited to spend a few minutes with you this morning. And I'm also really excited about this topic. So if you are joining me, if you are live right now, I'd love for you to just drop just a message or a thumbs up or an emoji in the chat. Let me know that you are here. Let me know that you can hear me. Tell me where you're joining from today. I would love that, just to let me know that everything is working. By the end of summer camp, I will have worked out all of the technology. And that is, there we are. Okay, we've got people live. Good morning. Welcome back. All right, session 6. I'm excited about this one. This is one of my favorite topics. And so if you've never heard me talk about the Candyland chart, you're in for a treat. If you have heard me talk about the Candyland chart, this is going to be a great refresher for you. And this is going to be some awesome homework for you as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. Just a reminder, as I say every single session, the goal of Marketing Summer Camp is to inspire you to learn something new, to take that something new and put it into action and have some fun. And that is going to be our goal today, just like it is every single session. I want you to be inspired to think about something or try something new and put it into action while having some fun. All right, we're going to start out today with just a little story. So a couple of years ago, I was traveling in Morocco. And Morocco is a little country in northern Africa. And while I was there, I just randomly decided, because the owner of the riad I was staying in said, "Would you like any day trips? How about mountain climbing?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And so just randomly decided to climb a mountain that day. And so the mountain that I climbed was Mount Toubkal. It is the highest peak in North Africa. And you basically go with a guide and essentially just walk up the mountain. So you stop for breakfast/lunch in a Casbah in Imlil, which is sort of base camp. And then, as you can see, it sort of winds straight up from there. Now, there are portions of this mountain climb that are a little tricky, especially these days, because there have been some earthquakes and some landslides. It's not a simple just follow the path and wander, and you can do this by yourself. You need to have a guide. And so the only reason why I completed that climb, the only reason why I made it all the way up that mountain and down, is because of our guide that day. He was a wonderful young gentleman, and he had his donkey, which he called his Berber Ferrari. And his entire job was not only to carry what we needed along with us on the trail, but his entire job was to walk ahead and say, step here, don't step here. Because there are a number of places where it gets a little bit rocky. There are places where you don't necessarily want to be walking on the trail. You want to know where you're going and where you should be stepping and where you should not be stepping. And so this entire adventure was made possible because of our guide. Now, I tell you this story because I also want to share with you one of my favorite marketing related quotes from Donald Miller. And in that quote, he says, "Never play the hero, always play the guide. Your customer is looking for someone who can help them, someone who's struggled, has overcome that struggle, and has the competence to win the day. The guide is the strongest character in the story. The guide has been there, done that, already conquered their demons, and now exists just to help other people win." Now, this is true in storytelling, but this is also very true in marketing. And I think these days, a lot of people tend to want to look like the hero in the marketing. We want to look like the rock star. I think that there is a lot of kind of social media buzz around people looking like they're the cool and amazing hero. But the underlying truth of really great marketing is when you are the guide, when you are that person who says, step here, step here, step here, don't step here. So I start out today telling you that story because that story directly relates to what I'm going to teach you today. And what I'm going to teach you today is what I have learned personally in my business to be the easiest, the fastest, and the cheapest way to improve your marketing and your business. So I will guarantee you that this is the easiest, the fastest, and the cheapest way to improve your marketing. It'll cost you less than $5 and a little bit of time. And it will have a amazing, huge impact on your marketing and your business. Are you ready? All right. So I want to remind you, as I do every single session, the goal of marketing is to get people to feel something. And those feelings could be trust, safety, respect, joy, wonder, all of those feelings. And if we can get people to think differently after we get them to feel, we can also get them to better understand what it is that we do, and then get them to take action and then remember us. So today we're really going to be focusing on that feel, think, understand. We really want them to understand why we are the right person for the job. That is the goal of marketing. That is where the Candyland chart comes in. So fun fact, Candyland was first created 78 years ago in 1948 by a lady named Eleanor. She was in the hospital and she was recovering from a bout of polio, and she designed the very first Candyland. Now, Candyland has always been one of my favorite games. It was a game that I played a lot as a kid. Now, what you are looking at on the screen right here is the original Candyland. This was where the little characters were made out of cardboard, and you see here that it was very much the original Candyland. You can see here there was the crooked old peanut butter house and the molasses swamp, and all of these areas where you could find that things would go wrong and you would have to, slide back down and start over. The reason I'm telling you about Candyland is because Candyland is the perfect metaphor for the work that you do. Stick with me. Candyland is a game where you start out at the beginning and you want to get to the end. But throughout your entire journey, there are things that could or will go wrong. There are things that are going to get sticky. There are things that are going to get complicated. You might drown in the molasses swamp. You might get stuck in the gumdrop mountains, right? This is a perfect example of basically every one of our businesses and how we serve people. Now, Candyland has evolved over the years, and you can see that there are later versions. The one here on the left, that's the one I actually grew up playing in the 70s and the 80s. That was the game I remember. These days, it's very pink. Everybody wins, right? It's very indicative of the way things are today. It's always very shiny and very pretty. But the game has not changed. The game is still, you start out in the beginning and you want to get to the end, and there are all kinds of obstacles that you are going to encounter. And the most important part, whether you are playing the original version or today's version, is that you have a little character and you are pulling cards, and the cards are telling you how many spaces that you move or how many spaces you go back or what is going to happen to you. Now, I want you to pay really close attention to those little cards with those little squares. Every one of you is working with customers who are making their way through those little squares. Every one of you is saying, step here, step here, step here. No matter what your business is, your job is to get people from the beginning to the end of the journey and through all those little colored squares, right? Now, here's the thing. Here's the activity. Here is the exercise for the Candyland chart. And this is going to be your homework for today, and I'm going to explain the process. All you need is a pack of sticky notes. I've got a pack right here, under $5. Go to the dollar store, buy yourself some sticky notes. Get yourself a big blank wall, a sliding glass door, windows, it doesn't matter what it is. You can lay them out on the floor. Get yourself a pack of sticky notes, and here's what you're going to do. Ask yourself, what are all of the steps that it takes for a client to work with you? What does step here, step here, step here look like in your business? What are those individual steps? Where do the challenges happen? Where are those sticky notes where you say, ooh, go back to zero, start over again, right? For my real estate people, it might be didn't appraise, didn't fulfill conditions, it was multiple offers and we didn't get selected. Doesn't matter what business you're in, there are always going to be these squares where there are challenges. Oof, this is where we might hit a roadblock. This is where something might go wrong. Now, here's the most important piece. On those squares, on each of those sticky notes, in each of those steps, I want you to write down, what do you do in those steps? What is your role? What are you responsible for? If you are the guide, if you are the guy who is walking me up the mountain and saying, step here, step here, step here, what do you do in each one of those steps? Now, also importantly, what do your clients do in each of those steps? What is their role? What are they going to feel? What are they thinking? What are the questions they are going to ask? Now, at the end of the day, when we get through all of those steps, what is the very best outcome? And what is the best outcome in each one of those steps? So this might take you an hour, might take you a little bit longer, but I want you to take each one of those stickies and I want you to write down each of the steps that it takes for a customer to get through the entire process with you. Now, here is what is going to happen when you do that. You are going to better understand your role in each one of those steps. You're going to better understand your customer's role and their challenges and their feelings and their thoughts and how you are going to address them. And it might end up looking something like this. Now, this is a very simplified version of buying or selling real estate. So if I decide to sell, I'm going to contact a realtor. We're going to go through pricing and marketing strategies. I'm going to sign some paperwork. People are going to look at my house. We're going to receive offers. There's a negotiation process. There's a financing and appraisal conditions, and so on. This is a very simplistic one. You can go into much more detail, but this essentially is going to allow you to visualize, here's what happens when you work with me, and here are all the things that are going to happen or could happen. Here's maybe an area where we're going to have to go back to the beginning. But most importantly, this is my role in each one of these, and this is your role. Now, you can do the same for the customers on the other side of the transaction. I've decided to buy. These are all the steps. Same as before. Now, two things happen when you do this and you use this in your marketing. One, you have far more prepared clients. You sit down and you explain this to them when you are working with them and you say, here is what the process looks like when you work with me. This could happen. This could happen. This is a portion of the process we're going to have to get through together. This is going to be your job. This is going to be my job. This is what I do. When we get to that negotiation stage, when we get to that searching stage, this is my job. So first of all, you're going to have far better prepared customers. They're going to know what to expect. They're going to understand what is expected of them, and they're going to understand what they can expect of you. But secondly, they are far less likely to say, so what do you get paid for? Right? Because it doesn't matter what job you're in, there is always a point where a customer looks at us and says, wow, you're really expensive. Or, wow, how come you get paid so much money for just that? Right? Because do you know what people see in this situation? They mostly see that first square and that last square. They don't necessarily see all of the work that comes into it. So when you take all your sticky notes and you create the entire customer journey, you now can use those squares, that Candyland chart in your marketing. There are all kinds of examples out there that you can use. This one includes both journeys, buyer and seller, in one page. There's a million of these online. You can go online. Canva has some samples. You can make up your own. There are so many out there that you can use as inspiration. And obviously, don't just ask AI to create this for you. Customize it. Put in all of the things that you do and the steps that are most important for your clients in the area that you work. And again, they don't have to necessarily look like Candyland charts. Some of them do. Some people like to make these a circle or, some other kind of chart. But the most important thing is that you have one. The most important thing is that when you talk to a prospective customer, that you explain to them what the journey looks like, that you are the guide. Remember, Donald Miller says the guide is the strongest character in the story. So set the expectations right up front. I am here as your guide, and this is what the journey is going to look like. And you are going to step here and step here and step here, and you are not going to step here. This is what most people leave out. And when they leave this out, what happens is that their customers get halfway through and go, well, I didn't know. I never expected this. This isn't something you ever told me. How would I have known that this was going to happen? I wasn't prepared. But when you do prepare them, when you sit down with your customers and go through the Candyland chart, they are better prepared and they are more understanding of the work that goes in behind the scenes. This is a great example from Weston, Maine. They sort of structured this to fit into a carousel on Instagram. I love this idea of it just sort of becoming a couple of different cards, a couple of different swipe throughs to sort of see the entire journey. And again, these are simplified versions, but when you have a proper Candyland chart that you have laid out, that you have mapped out using your sticky notes, you have the entire customer journey, and it becomes a habit for you to walk your customers through this. Now, this is true no matter what business you are in, whether you sell real estate or you sell coffee or you are a mortgage lender or you walk people through the process of signing up for higher education. I had LASIK surgery a couple of years ago. There are examples for that, how to improve your credit score, every single thing that is a scary, complicated situation. It gives you the ability to create a Candyland chart. For every customer who is embarking on a scary, big, potentially expensive journey, there is a Candyland chart. And you should have one of these too. You should have a Candyland chart for every aspect of your business, and it should become habit for you to walk people through it. Now, I want you to remember that the most important aspect of having a Candyland chart is not the colors you use or how pretty it looks. It is that each one of those squares reflects a step in the process. Each one of those squares is, and you're going to land here, and this is what is going to happen there. And this is what is your responsibility. And this is what is my responsibility. And this is where things could go wrong. And this is what I help you with. This is where I do this thing, right? It becomes your ability to describe how you are the guide, the strongest character in the story. So instead of you having to be like, look at me, I'm great, I won all these awards, we don't need you to be the hero. What we need you to be is the guide. Now, we go all the way back to session 1, and I remind you of this. In session 1, I said to you, the very best way to get people to feel and think is through the power of story. And some of you are probably still listening and tuning in here and also watching replays and thinking, Val, I don't know what stories to tell. Every single one of these sticky notes, every single step is a story. Let me tell you about what happens when. Let me tell you about a time when this happened. Let me tell you about a time when we had to go back 6 steps, or we got to skip forward. That's always fun. Let me tell you about a time when. let me tell you about how I handle that and what I do in that situation and how I guide you through. This is the cheapest, fastest, and most effective way for you to change your marketing today. Write down each of the steps that you take, map it out on the wall as your Candyland chart, and then start to include this in your marketing. Every single step is a story you can tell in a video, on Instagram, in a blog post, in an email. The entire Candyland chart is something that you should have in your buyer presentations, your seller presentations, your customer intake forms. Every single time you work with a customer, you should start out with, this is what the journey looks like. So this is an easy one today. This is easily, hands down, the simplest and fastest and cheapest way for you to improve your marketing today, right now. So if you are watching this and you are thinking, all right, I've got an hour, let's do it. Get out a pack of sticky notes. And if you don't have sticky notes, honestly, map it out on a whiteboard, write it down on paper. It doesn't matter. Get some Post-its or a piece of paper. Map out the individual steps that you experience with your customers and incorporate the Candyland chart into your marketing, remembering that you are the guide, not the hero. You are letting your customer shine as the hero. They are the one that ends up at the end of Candyland as the winners. You are the person who says, step here, step here, step here. All right, easy, short one today. I want to hear you in the comments. I want to hear you commit. Drop in a comment, commit to incorporating some of this into your marketing. Again, cheap, easy, fast. You can do this today. Costs you nothing. I want a thumbs up. I want a yes. If you are going to incorporate this into your marketing, I promise you that this is going to make a massive impact, both for you and your customers. All right. We are coming back next week. Yes, I love seeing the yeses in the chat. Good job. I am so proud of you. All right. We are coming back next Tuesday for the final week of Marketing Summer Camp. We will be coming back for session 7. Social media trends. Now, this one's interesting. I'm not going to give you like, here's the exact video you should post. What I am going to give you is a couple of the most important elements or ingredients you should be including in your social media right now. We are going to be looking at the trends across all industries, but especially in if you are selling something, services, or your business is dealing with directly with customers. So we're going to be looking at the trends. I'm not going to make it overcomplicated. You're not going to leave thinking, oh my gosh, I have to become a social media manager. Nope. We're going to give you some simple, practical things that you can do just to improve your social media right now. And we're going to be doing that next Tuesday. And then next Thursday, we are going to finish up summer camp with session 8, and we're going to be talking about the most important ingredient in marketing aside from stories, and that's how we are going to wrap up. And then I am going on vacation. So for those of you that have been joining us all the way through, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am loving this. I hope that you are also loving this, and I hope that is inspiring you to do something and try something. If it is, if you are enjoying summer camp, please share it. Invite a friend. You can invite them to watch all of the reruns anytime. They're always going to be there on YouTube at Valerie Garcia Speaks. You can also share this social media post here on Facebook. I really appreciate it if you do tell others and share. That is the ultimate compliment. Now, I typically charge for summer camp, but this year it is free. If you are finding value in summer camp and you'd like to send me a little tip, there is a QR code on your screen. If you have already done that, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And my cat also appreciates it because those funds go directly into the tuna fund. So she is grateful. All right. Thank you all. You have a wonderful weekend. Do something with the information that I'm sharing. Just be inspired to take one small action, right? Okay. I will see you next week. Happy summer camp.